need to know what to do with that dough. Let the chef show you. You need to know what to do with that dough.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Need to Know Pod. Today we have a special guest. We have Chef Minajahrae. So let's bring her in. But before we bring her in, let me just tell you a little bit about her. And she's going to tell us more about her because I don't know that much. I don't know that much about her, but I do know that she has just graduated culinary school. She actually works at the Victoria, and that's located in the Renaissance in Harlem. So let's bring in Chef Minajahrae. So welcome. Hey,
Hi, Chef.
how are you?
I am great. This is the start of my birthday week. My birthday is this Wednesday, so this was the perfect little treat to welcome in the decade of 30.
Okay, so happy birthday, Anita from Need to Know Pod, and Chefs are here in the listening family. So happy birthday. I did not ask, do you want to divulge your age? Because you look like you're 22.
Okay. Yes, I can. I am a seasoned gal, and it's so interesting because a lot of the people that work at the Victoria, they automatically assumed I was in my teens, and I'm like, guys, no, I'm actually 29. So I'm 29 and I'll be 30 this
girl,
year.
You could be my daughter.
You know what? You're absolutely right. You could. You're absolutely right. So I am. I'm not as young as people think I am, but I love that because we age so gracefully.
Yes. Okay. Absolutely. So just give us a brief. What I actually should have mentioned is that not only are you a chef, you are a host of Loc'd N Pod.
Yes,
co-host.
I'm a co-host.
And so you can tell us a little bit about that, and I'm going to go a little deeper as the interview goes on. So just tell us who you are, who you be. So just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I am Minajahrae Whynter. I am a multi-passionate Black woman, and I am a woman of many talents. So being a chef it's one of those talents that I've always known it was a gift, but I just never gave it much brain power of how far to take it, because growing up in a Caribbean household, that is not necessarily the ideal career to aspire to. It's like, great, you can cook well, but what are you going to do with that? So I never really gave it much power, but past September, I was working for a company in corporate, and unfortunately, I was the victim of some sexual harassment, and when it was reported, they let me go. So at that point, it was like, what do you do in this season? Do you allow this to hinder you, or do you jump and take a leap and just don't think about it? Think about the best possible outcome, and that's what I did. I walked into ICE. I was like, you know what? If it goes well, it goes well. And every step kept confirming this is what you're supposed to do right now. And we did it. That was my birthday gift to myself last February. So literally,
let me just stop you, because that's when I went to culinary school on my birthday. My birthday, I walked into culinary school. I was already working full grown, and I'm always excited to interview younger people because, like you said it was always a passion. But for me, nobody told me I could go to culinary school. So I went later in life, and I was just so amazed to see so many young people. But that's definitely one of my questions. Like, what made you decide on culinary school? But I went on my birthday. So
I love that similarity. Yeah. It was like, what better birthday gift to give yourself than
that's right. Sometimes people get into, oh, it's my birthday, I want to do this and that. But it was a conscious decision, like, I'm doing this for me. And on my birthday, I'll never forget that. I went to actually the Art Institute, but I took a class at ICE. And let me just say, so the way we met is because I decided I took a long trip from Staten Island to I wanted to just support Black businesses. So my husband and I ended up in Harlem Biscuit Company. So, of course, that is your boss, the executive chef.
Yes, that's Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, so his general manager directed me to the Victoria, and that's how we stumbled upon that. And I just took a chance and was like, is the chef here? And then that's when I met you. So I'm actually I interviewed him already. So that
Yes, he told
podcast is
me. I
coming.
can't wait. Did it come out yet? Did it come out?
Girl, the editing is crazy.
Yes.
Okay, so you said you went to ICE,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
so was that in the back of your mind? How did you hear about ICE?
So I honestly,
Let's
I
be clear,
just
because ICE, the word ICE floating around. Let's tell everybody what ICE is.
ICE is the Institute of Culinary Education. That is
Okay,
what it
okay.
stands for. It is an abbreviation for the school. And I went looking for culinary schools, and I went looking at the pricing, and I was like, you know what? Let's just start touring. And that just happened to be the first school that responded back to me to tour.
Oh, nice.
So when I went, it just felt like home. I walked into the atmosphere, and I was like, this is the next step. And I decided to deviate from what people recommended, which was the classic training of culinary. I did plant-based because I grew up eating meat.
Oh.
So I know what meat tastes like. I've eaten seafood before, but the plant-based industry or the health conscious food industry is a growing avenue. And I was like, you know what? Let's conquer that, because we know how to do the other things, and then marrying them together is where the concept of the ambidextrous chef came into play, because I want to be able to do both. So ICE I had started school in February, and I completed the schooling portion by August. And that is when we had to proclaim an externship. And again, I'm going to deviate from what they tell me to do and tap into what I know he told me to do, because the connection with my creator and my path does not always align with what my family wants from me, what the world says I have to do. So I'm always going to deviate. And that's what I did in searching for an externship. I was like, I'm going to go up to where I want to serve. I want to serve my community. I want to be in Harlem. I want to be around that type of love and energy. I was going into a few places. I went into Red Rooster, which is Marcus Samuelson's place. Then there's another place called Reverence on what is that, like 135th ish and 8th Avenue.
Did they tell you to seek out externships? Because for me, and this is so many years ago, they gave me a list of places. So I guess unless you know of a place, so let me first ask, where do you live? Do you live uptown?
So I'm uptown. I'm in Washington Heights, so I'm a little further up.
Okay.
They would call this, a couple of people will refer to this as the Spanish Harlem area. So it's right, not too far from the Bronx. So I'm about 3 to 4 train stops away from the Victoria, not far at all. So not a long commute. Also something I was strongly opposed to. Externship hours get long. And coming home after midnight, if that was the shift that you were given, I didn't want to jeopardize my safety. I had to think about what was conducive for my lifestyle. So they gave us some externship options, and setting up trails with those externship options didn't work as smoothly. I decided to deviate again and do a little foot to pavement. I researched where I wanted to train and who I was going to be training under, and I printed out that culinary resume, and I walked into those doors and introduced myself and gave them my resume. And chef immediately, he's like, well, this is when you're going to start, and we're going to do this. And he warned me it wasn't going to be an easy feat, but I told him I wasn't looking for the easy way out. I just wanted to be groomed by the best, and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Yeah, I can imagine. Just that he was just so open, and I've been telling this story to anybody who will listen, just how open he was. He took me around the kitchen, but I picked up the vibe, and even conducting an interview with him, just you can tell like he's really, really passionate about it.
Oh my goodness.
The trails that I went on, it was just like places that I probably would dine at, and it just kind of felt like free help. I ended up going, I mentioned it to you before, but Spice Market. So that was different. It was a little, it just wasn't fast paced, but the other ones was a little snooty patooty. You ended up going to the Victoria. Had you tried it? What were some of the other restaurants you tried?
The other ones were, so I was supposed to trail at Queen, I was supposed to trail at there's a place called Setapani in Harlem as well. So these trails were being set up, but errors on their end, it just didn't align. So I wasn't pushing the envelope. If it didn't align, it didn't align. The same thing happened when I met Chef. He walked me through. He gave me a tour of the building, and he asked me what I wanted from my career. And typically when you trail or typically when you extern, if there is a line, they want you to learn the line. But I expressed to Chef that I'm not interested in being a line cook or being in this field of culinary. So I want to be groomed differently. So he posed me for special events. Mostly, I love being prep and back of the house just because culinary for me has to be peace. And the line is not peaceful. It is very stressful. Right. It is very fast paced. There are some people who work in certain positions on the line. They're not people, and they don't talk to people with compassion. So when it comes to myself, I knew in order for me not to grow tired and not like the decision that I made, I had to be vocal about what I needed to work best and what I wanted from this. And that's
to him for asking you.
I am so appreciative because some of my co-hosts didn't have the luxury of expressing their desires and pursuing that, or having somebody even interested enough to say, okay, this is how we're going to groom you. This is what you want out of this. And this is how we're going to get you there. So I am eternally grateful for the mentor that I have in this field. I am eternally grateful.
Chef, he said he makes sure his staff looks like us.
And I can definitely say that is something that I appreciate about him. He has control. That is definitely what he prioritizes, and that is what made me want to lock in with that location. I didn't want to be surrounded by people that didn't look like me or couldn't relate to where I came from and morally stands in my community.
So was there a big difference between what you learned in school and what you learned at the working with Chef?
Foundationally, no, but in a real world, in a fast-paced everyday environment, yes. So they prepared us. We had the basic fundamentals. I will say that we walked away with a great foundation, and I also had a background even further in catering. That was my first job. When you got that summer youth. My son, age 13, my grandmother has a best friend who was a restaurant owner uptown in the Bronx, JES Distinctive Catering, a Caribbean catering brand. And I worked from the age of 13 until about maybe 17-ish when I went away to college. So my background has always been in hospitality somewhere, in some avenue. So yeah, the transition from school to the real world, it was just like, oh damn, this is happening right now, and you have to lock in and you have to focus. So
for me, I found I didn't work the line, so we kind of prepared. So I saw that you guys were kind of nice and working at your own pace. You was making bread pudding
at the time. Yes, I like baking is a strength. So in school, the baking modules weren't my favorite, but in real life, in my externship and now what is my current position there, I just find peace. I found peace in baking, and it grew on me. I didn't think it was going to grow on me, but it did. It did.
So you say you went for plant-based.
Yes.
Did they teach you how to bake? Did you have courses in baking with no eggs and stuff like that?
So yes, we did have. We had to do classic techniques, so things like meringues or certain genoise. We had to do the classic techniques, so we knew what to do, but there were also substitutes for us to do it if we were making it in a plant-based setting or for a plant-based client. We had some successes. We had some things that made us go, and then we had some things that wasn't it. So that's where your research.
I love the fact that you said genoise, because most people I don't know anybody that can use that word.
Oh, thank you. I had to, my brain was like, make sure you say it correctly because people do
That's it.
say it incorrectly, certain terms in
I
culinary.
don't even know anybody who would know what it is, and that was one of the hardest things that I learned how to make. And once I learned, I don't make it often, but it was just a cake that I learned how to make. Um, but yeah, so that's interesting. I never hear average Joe Schmo say that word.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
it was inspiring to know that your background is it in pastry as a whole?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
That's
it
all
was.
I did. That's all I did. It's pastry. Because I knew how to cook. I knew how to cook. And I felt like, I could always look at something and pick it up because I have an idea. So I do believe that you don't have to go to culinary school you don't have to go to culinary school. It can be taught, right? Because that's how we learn things. You growing up with your Caribbean background, and you know how to cook. So I just felt like if I saw something, then I could adapt to that. Bacon, I had no clue, none whatsoever. So I decided watching something on TV, and it was like show after show after show, like about bacon. And I said, wait a minute. I never knew you could just go for bacon. So that's what I did. Mm-hmm.
I believe so. My grandmother passed away. She raised me. I was like my mom. When she came home from the hospital, I remember giving myself the task of making her a purse cake. I again watched show after show. I grew up just loving Food Network and things of that nature, Chopped and all that. So I made a cake. So when you said that you had no idea or you didn't really have much knowledge when it came to baking, it made me think, well, what if I would have done pastry, or what if I decide to take some pastry courses because I love it and that takes great attention to detail. And again, like you said, for anybody tuning into this, you do not have to go to culinary school to build a culinary career. You just have to understand what you want out of it and take the necessary steps.
Right.
So I'm glad that you followed what you want.
So if you have any questions, I am always here to ask away, because I think people dismiss bacon because I find that everybody thinks they can bake. And just a story, I'm gonna do a podcast. I bought this cake from this place that it wasn't good. I threw the entire cake in the garbage. So I'm gonna talk about that. Yeah, because they make like and they didn't go to school. They got some press, some place here in New York. They got some press, so they can make like croissants and stuff like that. You can make a dough. That cake,
it wasn't doing what it to do.
It was, when I tell you, in the garbage, and that was me doing my Black job and supporting Black owned businesses, and my attitude sucked. That's all.
And funny that you said that. I am a firm believer, and that is also why working the line wasn't quite for me. You are energy. So when you touch food that others consume, they are consuming your energy. So that is why I have to be at peace while I'm in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And the fact that you said her energy sucked, that was why this came out just like that.
That's right. It wasn't good. It wasn't good.
Okay. Oh my goodness.
Let me get to my question. Let me get to it. What?
My question that I was going to ask was, do you do events? How do you get what do you do?
Because I went to school, and like I told you, being so grown, I had 3 kids, a husband, a full-time job. And this is what I was discussing with Chef Boots. I don't feel like culinary school prepares you to be an entrepreneur. It only prepares you to work for people. So I already had a job. I knew, and I actually worked for the city. I worked for the transit system. In the train. So have you ever got on a train?
My grandfather.
You said your grandfather?
Years in the transit system. He was a conductor.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my whole family. So, and that's fine. It allowed me, I'm thankful and grateful because it allowed me to go to culinary school. But it was the worst job. I don't recommend it to anybody. It's gotten bad. But anyway, So I knew I didn't want to work for somebody, just having that experience. And in my community, we didn't have any. I like good coffee, right? I like good coffee and I like a pastry. So I decided to open up a pastry shop. So I opened up my pastry shop, had it for about 4 years. The pandemic hit, and then so now I'm going to the job. A lot of people died in New York, as you know, during the pandemic, but also just in transit. I knew a lot of people who had passed because of the pandemic. So I was like, do I stay open? Is it worth the risk? And then knowing, and I still have my full-time job and my shop. So it just was a lot. So I decided to close my shop. So once I closed my shop, I was like, okay, now what? But while I had my shop, I was doing events and just the vibe was just so different. While I was figuring out what I was going to do, I invested in a business coach, and I learned that I can conduct business online. I decided to teach people how to bake online.
Okay.
Then I started having courses. So then I started also teaching people not only how to bake, but how to start a business. So I did that for a few years, and so that's how it's easy for me to navigate podcasting, because once I had to learn how to navigate online, I also learned the tech aspect of it. So to answer your question, that's what I was doing, but I kind of just shied away from it because when I had my shop, my son was like the manager, and he was so young at the time, so he worked in the shop, and I don't have the energy now, and it's a lot of work when you have functions. It's just a lot, especially if to go from a shop having help and a staff to come back and do it at your house. It's just too much.
It's a polar, yes. It's a transition. So
yeah, and I started in my basement. Because I worked for transit. I would see so many people. I was selling cakes and stuff, and I don't know if you're old enough to remember Circle of Sisters.
Yes.
Yes, I did Circle of Sisters before I even had a shop. And when I realized I could get paid for selling these cupcakes, I did it 3 years in a row, and that's what really gave me the desire to say I can make this a business. So,
and you did just that. I love that you said. So oftentimes, some of the lessons that I will learn training under Chef Melvin Johnson, or Chef Boots, as you refer to him, he teaches me the business side of it. What you're spending versus the cost to make a dish. So I do appreciate those tokens, because those are not things that we are taught in culinary school. Like you said, we are only taught to work for someone. So what about the one who doesn't want to work for someone and just wants to work for themselves? What do? We have to.
When I would get the students, everybody, you could be passionate all day long, but that doesn't transcend to a business. One of my courses was I would do free master classes, and it was like the business behind baking, or the business of baking. So I can't actually know how to bake. So what, right? I had to know, when those doors was open in school, I didn't understand about marketing. But now I need to learn how to market now that I'm operating online. So it was a lot, but I don't have any regrets. But your question was, do I do events? Yeah, somebody would have to pay me. Somebody would have to pay me to do a big event. Yeah.
Okay. The coin would have to look right.
I'm not just selling cupcakes. Yeah.
I understand. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want the complications of opening a restaurant, like you said, a shop. There's a lot of maintenance. So I know for sure I want to give back to my community in the way of teaching, because of how passionate I am about food and I'm cooking. I won't even say culinary. It's an art within itself. But the way I'm passionate about food, I want to help those who may not know or who want to increase their vocabulary. It's not, I don't want to say it's not hard, but it's not hard. Anybody can cook.
But you know what? Not anybody. But you know what? I think And I think it was easy for me to say, let me just go for bacon, because I've been cooking all my life. So there's probably some things that I don't do well, and that's okay, right? Then either I'll pay for somebody to do it. But it's interesting that you say that, because one of my goals was to teach our people, our community, what it is today. Not just, oh, I can make a pound cake, or oh, I know how to make. Everybody in their mother swear they can make a pound cake. Everybody in their mother swear they can make I guess
A
like a sweet potato
cheesecake.
pie. You know?
A cheesecake,
Yes.
sweet potato pie.
Right.
Yeah, those
Right.
people got it messed up. Really, they do.
Yeah, so I would try to teach them like how do you make a pie crust from scratch, or also introducing them to different things. Like I showed some of my clients how to make eclairs in the pastry cream, and the
Okay,
lady didn't even know what an eclair was. She said I would see him. She didn't even know the name of it. So
you
I
would
don't
just
want
see
it to
that
be
cookie
that.
that shaped like that.
Yeah, I don't want it to be where we have to go to other neighborhoods to get something that tastes good. So that was my passion. I'm still passionate about it, because I think most people don't eat good food outside.
They do not.
Yeah.
A lot of times I have to prioritize meal prepping for myself because I'm so disappointed when I eat outside. If I can
Yes.
be frank,
Yes.
it's so disappointing, and every time I'm reminded of it, it's the motivation that I need to meal prep when I don't feel like meal prepping.
Yeah.
So I I I love that we shared
So
that
so
same
let me
sense.
ask you: Are you vegan? Do you just eat plant based
So
food?
I am the world's greatest flexitarian. I'm gonna break that down. I am dairy free
Okay.
because I was highly lactose intolerant and I had to choose my health or what I liked
Okay.
to eat. I had to find great substitutes. I have time periods where I do like to refine myself to a pescatarian diet, but being in this industry, especially working at the Victoria, we have a lot of meat based dishes. So I have to taste what it is that I'm cooking. I have to taste what it is that the rest of my prep team is cooking. So pescatarian, I do like to just be aware of what I'm putting into my body. So I like to
Okay.
give my body the best thing. So that even means watching my sugar intake. That means
Mhm.
watching the ingredients that we don't read that have those dyes in them and being very
Girl,
conscious
you
of
know,
what
you know
you let.
what? It was meant for us to meet because I just did a podcast episode about the different stuff that's in food, and this is another thing. Like you buy all this processed food outside, and really, it's not good for you. All the junk that's in it
It's
that other countries don't
terrible, people.
allow. Yeah, and even
Terrible.
now, I think it's going to get worse that we don't have any communication with the CDC, the FDA. So I think it's important that people either learn how to cook. You're gonna have to learn how to survive.
Yes,
And
you are.
if they keep cutting this fund into the farms, you're not gonna have any dairy in a minute. But that's a conversation for another day. But I think it's important to learn how to at least be able to sustain yourself. So
To be how to sustain yourself, how to make things that are good for your body, and that looks different
yes,
for everyone. Even
yes,
one of my mentors and my best friend, they're in the medical field, and they give me some tips as well. So I learned how to eat from my blood type. A lot of people don't know that there are
mm,
certain foods that nourish your blood type, and even
mm-hmm,
as people of melanated skin, there are certain things that we should stay away from because of our top
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
threats, if you will, as far as high blood pressure, diabetes,
Yes, yes,
and
yes.
everything else that puts your body at risk. So it just made me plant based. The plant based culinary route, it helped me expand my vocabulary
Yes,
on what
yes,
it's
yes.
possible to do with food, and it can taste just like your regular carnivore based dishes. I think my final dish for school was I did a grilled eggplant and zucchini lasagna.
Girl, if you don't get out my head, we just had eggplant tonight.
Is that what you made for dinner?
I did. Yep. That's what I made. An eggplant parmesan. Yes.
I did a nice layered, we had to show different components. So I did a bolognese that was pecan meat based. So I made my own
Okay.
pecan meat. So I really do like to I like to blow people's minds. I did a private tasting incorporated into my women empowerment brand, Women Unwind. I did a
Mm-hmm.
tasting. So I did some meatballs, I did some patties, I did spinach and artichoke dip. I did everything plant based. And when I say people were flabbergasted. They couldn't believe that they were eating plant-based dishes that tasted just like eating the real thing. So it's possible.
And I think that's great because that's a niche that everybody's not into. So that definitely will set you apart from everybody else.
The goal, and I want to just attack it and take it head on for what it is, because I want to be based in meal prepping, because a lot of people today don't have the time to cook for themselves, so they do resort to what's accessible and affordable. And a lot of people don't have the vocabulary to make dishes that they'll want to eat for multiple times out of the week and not get tired of it. So I want to be specialized in meal prep. I want to launch some private chefing services, some personal chefing services, some travel chefing services. I don't want to be tied down. I want to travel the world and heal people through food at the beat of my own drum. Just like
that. I love that. Okay.
That is exactly why so many people have been, oh my goodness, I just, I spend so much money on food. I just want to give you the money, and I appreciate that. But I also had to just remember to silence the voices of others and focus on
because what I found when I was just baking for people, friends, they all want a discount, but I try to tell people, if you come out with this is the price and you know your value, this is the price. But when I give you a professional service, when I provide a service, I want to be paid for it. Things that people don't look at, like and this is just a text space. So if somebody says, okay, I want to sign up with your service, like automation is key. When they sign up, they need to get an email immediately acknowledging, not, girl, I forgot to call you and all that.
It needs to be the same way you would purchase something in the Apple store or whatever, is the way you immediately get a receipt.
Yes.
This is your invoice. This is the amount that's due immediately.
Yes.
It needs to be seamless. So as a woman of color in this industry, this male-dominated industry, I wanted to make sure that anything that my name is attached to is going to be done and done well. So I thank you for being so willing to pour into me what you were able to get along your journey. And that's a part of community as well, being able to, people are so into gatekeeping these days, and that is whack, y'all. Stop keeping things for yourself. Share. It's going to take away from your greatness to pass along something to someone else.
Yes, so, absolutely.
Thank you for that. This has been, it's just been a year. The last year of my life has truly been a testament to, if you just trust God through it all and keep doing that He told you to do, it's going to be okay. So it's a transformative year. So even us coming into contact with one another that day, when you came into the kitchen, I was like, oh my goodness, Chef, you didn't tell me. I thought it was something being filmed in the hotel at first. Because in the beginning of my externship, there's something called the Black Chef series that Chef Boots hosts. So that was my first 2 weeks in externship doing the Black Chef series. I was like, whoa. And it was actually baking. It was with another Caribbean female chef helping her bake. We made over 400 cake pops. So imagine coming in straight off the bat. This is what you do.
Wow. Nice.
Are you ready for this?
So when he had that function, I told him I want to come this year. Did you network with people?
Yes, I did. I was in the kitchen with all of the chefs. I got to meet all of them, and it was such a dope experience.
Nice.
I couldn't even believe that was my reality. My first 2 weeks in externship,
and that's why it pays, because you know what? I find also, especially in I feel like people appropriate our culture, and they're the ones that get paid for it,
Wait, can we let that one simmer for a second? Okay. People, they appropriate our culture and get paid.
They're the ones with the TV shows on Food Network.
That is why I went to culinary school, because a lot of people who have the gifts that we have don't go as far as we can go because of their limitations.
And what I personally felt, I stopped watching them because I felt like when it came to us, we was either we weren't portrayed as chefs, but I felt like we were portrayed as cooks.
Yes.
And it wasn't so, not, I don't want to say chefs are prestigious, but it just didn't seem like they took us so serious. We was just
As
making
serious as
something.
this, yeah.
Then the time they get somebody to get on there, it's a fake couple. Okay.
I didn't realize those things were so staged. I did not realize until I want to go. I still want to go on one to experience it. I told Chef, I was like, that's something that's on my list. I want to
And
give it
good for you. You know why? Because I asked them, because I guess I was so, so grown and I got stuff going on. I don't want to get judged by people who just, let me tell you something. There's some people sitting on Food Network who have restaurants in New York and they have a C rating.
Yeah, the food is not. People try people's food for yourself. Don't let the look of it fool you.
So
Right.
I consider myself like a food safety fanatic, because I just feel like everybody is not required to have knowledge of how to handle food in a safe manner. And some of these restaurants have C ratings and their signs aren't on the door. But we think because it's a certain person that's okay. But if you look up their food grade, it's C. I'm not eating at a C restaurant. Yeah.
For many different reasons.
Yeah. The report tells you. Girl, listen. Yeah, the report tells you. But nonetheless, what is a typical day like for you at the Victoria?
A day at the Victoria. So now we recently launched a new menu, so it's a lot more prep heavy. You got the real cooking is coming out. So we got greens on the menu. We have some escovitch snapper on the menu. We have a seafood medley court bouillon on the menu. So different from what our menu was when I initially started. When I initially started, it was a lot of things that were quickly put together. But now you got to take your time. So the day for me definitely entails some of our house staples. So Chef definitely allows these hands to have a hand in our baking. So I'm going to always be taking care of our baked things, whether that means prepping them for that exact day or prepping materials for those to be used by our prep team and our line for the rest of the week. So my top are our peach cobblers, our bread pudding, accompanied by a whiskey sauce, which is now going to be changed to a cognac sauce. But either way, that sauce complements it soaks it up so lovely. And cornbread, which is a really dope homemade cornbread recipe. Chef's recipes, all of them are his recipes. He's I call him a mastermind in the kitchen, because some things that he has created, the ingredients and the flavor profiles versus how I was taught to make them, or how we maybe taught to make them in school. It's like,
but let me just say that that's another thing, because not only does culinary school teach you to work for somebody else, they also teach you to make what they deem is good, right? Not necessarily what we grew up on, right?
Not at all. That was anytime something came up in our modules, and if it had a Southern flair to it, a Caribbean flair to it, I would automatically want to have that recipe for the day, because there's no way that you're going to bring this dish to life the way it's supposed to be brought to life. So yes, I would like to encourage any person of color that comes across this podcast episode to allow who you are to shine in culinary school as well. Don't just mute yourself, because that's what they told you to do, and this is how they told you to do it.
But it didn't, and it's good that you say that for people listening. But it didn't dawn on me until while I was in it. I think I was so excited to be in it, but it didn't dawn on me. You're just learning stuff. But
as you go.
Yeah, and it's so one of my top sellers that just happened to be one of my top sellers. I don't necessarily eat the cake, but a red velvet cake. They don't teach you how to make that in school.
Favorite.
it's just not one of my favorites, but I had to learn how to master it, from the cake itself to the icing to the exact measurements. So anybody listening, write your recipe down. I always say you have to perfect a recipe. You have to perfect the recipe. And that's something I would teach my clients or students. Like, first, the basics. I would teach them the basics. Like, we need scales, so just writing everything down. But I say I like to say is that's not something they taught us in school, how to make a red velvet cake. But everybody and their mother swear they can make it, because
Yes, they do.
you know, they want us to learn European stuff. That's why I love Chef Boots so much, because he's standing 10 toes down on I want to serve our food, the food that we grew up on, you know.
Yes, and he wants you to experience it the way that you are supposed to, because when you walk into other establishments, they want you to experience things the way they would like you to.
Yes.
So it's time
to kind of shy from our culture. And
okay.
I said I went to ICE, right? The culinary school. I had already finished school, but I took a cookie class, because they teach you some things, but I was like, And I don't know if you know her or if she's still there. She might not be there. This was so long ago, but Toba Garrett. And I got her two of her baking books. And I have like some recipes out of there that, so I'm really telling on myself that that were like the best. That were the best in staples. So I learned so much just by having her books. But I also took, it was like a weekend class. I went 2 days to take that class, her cookie decorating class. And I use her cookie recipe to this day for my what do you call those? Decorated cookies. Cookies. To this day. So
some recipes just work. And when they do, that's the beautiful thing about culinary. It's not to say it's never an original, but you preparing something and me preparing something, it's two set of hands. So it's gonna taste like I prepared it, and it's gonna taste like you prepared it. So that's the beauty in it. So even when it comes to people asking me how to make certain things, I'm not into the gatekeeping thing. Sharing is caring. And we're gonna create something that is just for you, and I'm gonna create something that's just for me.
Because you can give somebody a recipe, and I used to say that all the time. Just like you saying that, I would say it all the time. I can give you my recipe; it's still not going to come out the same. I know what I'm looking like. I'm looking for. I know what I'm looking for. But also, I think it still takes practice. There's some recipes that I had to practice before I even put it out to the world. Let me get this together. That Genoise cake. I had a chef that we made it in school. It was fine. It wasn't until I kept practicing. The chef, the way he showed me how to make it was to mix it with my hand.
Okay.
And that's the best way, because with all the eggs and you got to keep that air in there. My cake kept dropping. I think I must have made about 4 or 5 cakes, and it just was so dense it would drop. And I had one chef say, mix it with your hand.
With your hand instead of a machine. And oftentimes that is just the tool difference can change the whole outcome.
Yeah.
Just by switching.
I use that cake for my strawberry shortcakes. And I hate to offer it because it's just too much. It's just too much. Most people won't even know what it's taken for me to make it, but I do know how to make it. But the way that I perfected it was to mix it by my hand.
Okay, so mixing it by your hand, that was even with doing certain things like the cornbread mixture or the bread pudding, I can just visually look at it and know that it's missing something, or know what I need to add to it to get the texture and the consistency that I'm looking for. So it's definitely paying attention to detail.
Now I'm going to talk about the business too more. So you said you want to launch a business. How soon do you see yourself launching that meal prep service?
I want to do it for March, if I can be honest. I had originally said...
we got to talk then. We got to talk.
Yes. I had originally said I wanted to do it as a birthday gift to myself this month, but I'm okay with working on it. And if it has to be the beginning of March, if it has to be the end of March, I'm okay. But March I don't believe it's hard to achieve. I don't, not at all, especially because it's going to. I'm a firm believer in whoever is supposed to support and to gravitate toward your business and your services will, and I'll be equipped to handle exactly what that looks like. In the beginning of that transition from the job that I mentioned into the culinary school venture, I was making ginger shots. And that was something that the support and the love, when I say it came pouring out. So definitely just making sure that I'm equipped for that, because I know as soon as I do, there are definitely going to be supporters and people willing to use that service. So yes, we do have to talk because it's it's something that I do for myself on a weekly basis anyway. And thankful for my home church that I grew up in the Bronx. They have commercial kitchen space, so I would be able to use that space and do what I need to do. So I just, like I said, the organizational thing. When do I open up the order form? When do I close it to give myself enough time to shop and prep for what I need? Making sure that pickups are coordinated on a professional manner, making sure invoice.
Girl, let me tell you, uh for Thanksgiving, and it's something I had to learn. And then I would teach my clients, like, oh, y'all want to bake for the holiday? You need to have this date, right? Have a date, have a cutoff time. And when I would do cakes for once my shop closed, I said, well, let me do cakes, because I did have a large client base who still wanted the cakes for the holiday. I think it's so important to dictate the terms. These are the 2 days that you can pick it up. Like, that's it.
Only. Right? The 2 days and these are the time frame. If it doesn't work for you, then I'm sorry, this is not good. This is not good.
Yes, because I find that sometimes, we like to haggle. We don't want to ruffle any feathers. But when people see that you have a service, professional service, like I'm not for the, oh, can I come back and give you the other half? And I want to, no. So
your invoice is due in full at this very moment.
Yes, and you get that money before they pick up, right? That's why you need those links where they can pay you. Girl,
So yes, I don't play about that. When I come from a long line of entrepreneurs, so I've always been around my grandparents, seeing how they navigate in their professional careers. Like my grandfather, MTA. He was in the transit. He did just about every train conducting position that was out in New York. And I worked for Chase, but they also were entrepreneurs. So they showed me what it was to be a person about your business. And when even if friends and family are your customers, remember they are your customers at that point in time. They are not that family or that friend, that family or that friend. They're a customer and they have to respect you.
But also I found too that sometimes the people you think are going to support you won't.
They will not. Really good to reality. Yes.
I made really good friends with just people who were my customers, and they were so supportive, and it just really kind of shined the light on, when you give stuff out for free. I used to always have these functions, like I've always cooked. So I would have brunches at my house and I'm cooking and, don't bring nothing. Just come. We having a good time, girls trip or girls function. And it's all fun and good and laughs when it's free. But when you're talking about supporting people who lived, I would say within walking distance of the shop, you don't see them, or people, they come to your house and eat for free and they just bought a muffin. So listen, it definitely
will test your not, I don't want to say test your those who are loyal to you, but it will show you who is truly in support of your growth and your elevation. So it is 100% true. Even now at this point, where people would have been comfortable with asking me like, "Oh, girl, can you make a pan of this and bring it to the function?" They know that's not the approach anymore. Yeah. There is some respect on the name, okay? And you have to
girl, listen,
accordingly.
It's funny you think, because people would come in the shop like, oh, who's the baker? Who's the baker? Or they say, oh, you the baker? And I just like, all right, can we just put a little respect on it? Yeah. I paid a lot of money to know what I know. So can you just put a little respect on it? Yeah, I am the chef.
Very much so.
Yeah.
I had to.
Okay.
I had to. It's one thing, which is why I do want to give back to the community in that way, is to help those who have the natural talent to elevate their self-confidence and to elevate what they have put so much time and effort into, to know that when you are extending these services or your gifts and your talents, don't just give them away for free, because people will take that and then turn it into a business for themselves. And then like
stealing our buffalo wings recipe and Jack Daniels.
We cannot afford to do that. There's too much greatness in our community.
But I also love the idea of teaching like our people, especially like women, younger girls, because
can we bring back home economics in school? Home ec, we need to bring it back. The young girls need to know how to cook.
Because a lot of these young people don't necessarily cook. I grew up cooking all the time. What you can do when you have a skill, everyone thinks they can cook, but if you can sell cupcakes or whatever your specialty is. Somebody just asked me, when you make a arugula again? I was like, I don't know. But if I make it, I'm gonna charge you for it, So and with the cost of eggs, girl.
Okay, we don't have time to play those types of games.
My husband said, "Kid, well, why you don't make a pound cake? Because it takes 6 eggs. That's why I'm not making a pound cake."
It doesn't. Exactly.
But I think if they have that skill set, I used to have like workshops for the kids. They would come with their parents, teaching the kids how to decorate the cookies, let's say for like Valentine's Day, but just to see the joy in their face, So that was something that even to this day, with everything going on in the world, how could I give back? I just feel strongly about showing like young Black girls how to bake, because it's a skill that they can be able to use down the line. So
yes, well, I would love to maybe that can be another collaborative moment between us, because that's something that has been on my heart. I went to an all-girls Catholic high school, and not having something like home ec as an elective, it bothered me, especially coming from a background of being a foodie, loving to eat and loving to know how to cook and feed myself. Something that
what's the one thing you say what's the best thing you learned to make in culinary school? And then what's the thing like from your childhood that like I can make this and make $1 million off of making this one thing?
The best thing that I learned how to make in culinary school. I don't ever think I thought about that. And plant-based. What was the best thing that I learned how to make? If I can be honest, I think it was more so concepts and techniques, and not necessarily the best thing as far as the dish. So knowing how to make my own like protein powders, my own milk, so oat milks, cashew milks, almond milks, and then taking what we would call trash to the regular person and take it into making like cashew flour, almond flour, making that into a protein powder. So taking the full capacity of what is able to happen with an ingredient, that was one of the best things that I took away, because there were a lot of things that I would throw away, I wouldn't find purpose in. So learning how to repurpose and get my money's worth, because food is expensive, y'all. So those techniques, learning how to substitute things that I don't necessarily even like eggs. Eggs are expensive, but learning how to make a flax egg and getting the same result, or getting a result that mimics similarly. So those are some of the best takeaways from culinary school. And everybody raves about my rasta pasta. That is something.
Where's your family from?
So my family is I'm Caribbean American. My mom was adopted, but her biological family, they are Caribbean background, and I was raised by my paternal grandparents, and my grandmother's from the Bahamas, and my grandfather was Native American. but he also our family was one of the first Black families in the Hamptons. So I have a nice big mixing pot going on. So I have a little bit of a Southern twang when it comes to some of my specialties, but I love Caribbean food. I love Caribbean flavors. I love a challenge. People ask me what my best thing to cook is, and I really say anything that I decide to cook.
I know that's right.
Okay, it's always gonna taste like there's love in that food. So, but my Rasta pasta is the highest requested dish, family friend event. It was.
Do you do events now? Do you cook for people now?
So no, I haven't. I haven't done it in the way that I want to do it. Have I done it giving myself the challenge of, can I do this? What would that look like time-wise? Yes, I've done that for different things like friends' baby showers or events that my family may be having. This year, I was a chef for Christmas. So challenging myself to make sure that I am not signing up for something that I cannot do or something that I wouldn't necessarily want to do. So we're getting there. We're getting there.
Now, so you mentioned that you are a podcaster as well and all the struggles that come with that. So tell me a little bit about your podcast.
So the Loc'd N Pod is a podcast that I co-host with my friend Michelle, but on the Loc'd N Pod, our supporters and listeners know her as Shelly. So we are we're two friends. We have a dance background, and we were casted for a show together. It was a pole dancing show that we were casted for. And long story short, the connection that we made by being casted for that show, we discovered that we lived around the corner from one another. So we started to commute home together and just have conversations. And we just kept having conversations. And one of our staples in our friendship is sending voice notes. So we just started with the crazy idea of, what if we started a podcast? Because these are conversations that people our age and of our ethnicities aren't necessarily having. And we know that we need to be having these conversations, hard conversations, things about your healing and trauma and how to navigate coming from a background that it's not necessarily the healthiest, but knowing that you want more out of life. So those are a bit of what sparked the Loc'd N Pod. And at that time, I believe I had started my lock journey already. So we had different concepts for the Locked In concept. Literally, now we are both locked. We have locks.
I have locks for two.
Okay. So you were you were locked in too.
Yes.
Love that. So that was another part of what we wanted the podcast to symbolize. We wanted to show that women who had natural curly hair or hair that we wouldn't necessarily see being locked, we had to change that stigma. Locks are beautiful on anyone. And then we wanted to lock in on what it meant to become the best possible version of who each of us is in this life. We wanted to get the best out of it, and we wanted to share and give back through our experiences. So we really just use that platform we always say it's just a glimpse at our friendship, and we're sharing conversations that we're having anyway. So a lot of the ones we did 7 preseason teasers. So we did like little glimpses of conversation. Then we decided to get into some audio and some visual and drop longer episodes. So we're about 17 or 18 episodes in. Really proud of our progress.
Good. I watched a few.
Okay.
I watched the one like Who Got Fired, right? You had to fire who got fired, right? So I watched that one.
Yeah, so you listened to the episode and you remember correctly. We wanted to start off with just like why do we get here? And our lives, from the time that we connected and spoke about even our childhoods, our lives have been so similar. And this was the first friendship that we had come across that both of us had similar backgrounds. A lot of people always kind of come at me because I don't have the best relationship with my mother, and I am okay I am okay with that, and I am living in my truth and what that means to have peace for me despite.
Girl, that is another podcast. Oh my
Okay,
God, that's a
so
whole nother story.
it took a while for me to be comfortable enough to open up the platform of what we do on Locked In, and that is talk about our truths, because I was so protective of other people's opinions and what they would feel concerning the role that they played in my main character story. But I had to release myself from that. So that was how myself and my co-hosts decided to take our friendship into the podcast setting, because these are conversations we're having anyway. These are things that we're healing from and through anyway. So why not do it in a way that would help others going through the same thing heal as well? Because a lot of people don't find these relatable conversations. They don't have the guts or the gall to talk about these things because of what we've been taught generationally to just kind of let it sweep under the rug. So that's what we do Locked In. We lock in on the best possible versions of ourselves, and that means facing some really hard things. Oh, it's a generational thing that I often have to acknowledge and even advocate for when I see younger girls that I'm connected to experiencing some of the hurt that I experienced. I have to advocate and stand in the gap and say, hey, I was that 7-year-old little girl before. Remember, she's still learning to process her emotions. You can't have this standard for her right now. She's still learning who she is. So it's a part of the assignment as well. That's why I have to remain multi-passionate, because there's so many different things that I have to give just through experience. 30 years on this earth, but I've been through some things in the 30 years that I have been here. So I feel a lot more mature.
We're gonna have to set an appointment just to have a phone conversation, because I'm
down.
Really digging your energy. I really
please. I would love to. Since the day you came to the kitchen, I was already like, well, whenever she's ready, I'm ready to learn.
But definitely, we can definitely talk.
This is actually just the beginning. I knew that from the time that we connected that wouldn't be just a one-off thing. I knew that this wouldn't just be a one-off thing. So I'm open to
and I have the video. I can send that video to you, and you said your name.
Please.
Yes, and I was, for me, I didn't like that I couldn't say your name, because people mess my name up all the time. So once I saw the spelling, I get it, right? I don't like people to say, oh, just call me this. No, I wanted to know how to say your name. So just seeing it, I'm going to say that. I don't want to cut it short unless you tell me to, but I like Minajahrae. It says it. Thank you. So, yeah.
So here, we make our own pickles here. We make everything. If we can't make it, we don't sell it.
Okay.
So that's kind of how we.
That's how I like to do it. Yes. What are you making?
It's bread pudding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me get. What's your name?
Minajahrae.
Wait. Tell us your name.
Minajahrae Martin.
Hi, Minajahrae. I want to
say
Minajahrae.
Yes.
Minajahrae. And this is their bread pudding.
Yeah, we're just doing our bread pudding, one of our desserts.
Okay.
We serve it with whiskey sauce.
Okay, that's gonna be good. Okay. I looked at it when you said your name. I'm gonna send it to you, and you said it, and I was like,
having a unique name it's something that I had to grow into my authority with, because oftentimes people would automatically do just that, and what can I call you for short? Mm-hmm. Oh, what's your nickname? And there are certain nicknames that are
you
just.
Sure you're not a Virgo on the low?
No, I'm a cuss baby. I'm a Pisces Aquarian baby.
Okay. But you said next Wednesday. What's that date?
This Wednesday, the 19th.
Oh, 19th. Okay.
2 days away.
Okay, nice. Happy birthday. Okay.
Thank you, Need to Know Pod.
Okay.
So I had to grow into that authority to say, no, my name is Minajahrae, because there are certain nicknames reserved for my family or for my friends for whatever endearing purposes those were put in place. But for the mere fact that you want to be lazy and not work to say my name, I have to work to say Bob and Rachel and simple and put my energy into it. So I would want the same respect. So it took some time for me to look beyond.
And as you get older, it's so as you start to get older, just knowing like the confidence comes, you know? People used to call me, you know, of course, oh, it's so easy, Sahara. Oh, like the desert. Now it depends. When I was younger, like I may answer to Sahara, you know. But as I started getting older, like if you think you're gonna continue to talk to me, you're gonna say my name right?
Correct.
Yeah, you're gonna say it right. So they say, oh, like Sahara, like the desert, and I'm like, no. Right, so it check them right then and there. We're not gonna
check them at the door.
Yeah.
People,
and I love it. And every time I check somebody or correct them, I should say, it just feels good. Like, yeah, this is my name. It's not the desert.
That is my name.
Yeah.
It is not.
Yeah.
People always, you know, the book, The Glass Menagerie. That's people's immediate reference. Also, like menagerie. No, not like menagerie. It's not spelling. Or people like to cut it short at menage. One of my, oh my goodness, a pet peeve of mine. I did not give you the authority to cut my 10-letter name down to letters that you could say. So people have some audacious genes, okay, in the mix. But I really do appreciate that now that I am fully content in who I am, and that even goes to my unordinary name.
Where I live in Staten Island, I was the only person selling baked goods, sold good quality coffee, you know, and some of my own people act funny. Like, I remember one guy came and was like, nobody's going to pay you $3 for a cup of coffee. Okay. But
you won't.
1 hour, but y'all would go to Starbucks, right? So there's no bakeries that sell banana pudding out here. Everybody thinks you got to go to Magnolia's, but whatever. But where I live, and this was one of my reasons I wanted to open something for us, because we go into these establishments and it clearly, as you can see now, they could care less about us. So I wanted to go to a place where we looked alike, where I knew everybody's name, you know, like in Cheers, right? So you can come in and I knew my customers, right? So no bakeries sell the stuff that we grew up on. And that's a problem to me. You can't get a sweet potato pie. The only place you can get a sweet potato pie is maybe Costco's or BJ's or something like that. But to go to a bakery, when I was growing up, we had bakeries, or, you know, our grandparents or moms or somebody was baking.
Somebody was baking them.
Yeah. So even as a well-known bakery, another bakery, it was Black owned at the time. I don't know if it still is, but I really made an effort to go out there in the city, the heart of the city, to get this apple pie. And it tastes like garbage. That's the most I had to throw out.
Like so many Black owned businesses that I supported growing up, and that I even supported as I transitioned to making this a profession, and just the business aspect and the way you were treated and the lack of customer service that was available.
And it's so important, because working for transit, you had to have good customer service. I mean, everybody thinks transit workers are so nasty. If you are, guess what? They're going to report you. So just having that, even before working for transit, I worked for transit for 25 years. Before that, I would always work with the public. So I know what it takes. And as a consumer, I know how I wanted to be treated. So I said I was going to do a podcast about my experience in the end, or do a portion of it. But just like when people would come in, I could be tired, but I still put a smile on my face. Her attitude was just like, like we spent about $85 in there. She didn't say thank you. She didn't smile. I tried to ask her a question. She acted like she didn't hear me. I was like, okay, she getting a nice version of me. Okay.
Right, the refined version. We're gonna get this one. We're gonna get a pass.
Yeah.
So you have to, and then what I've also learned is some people continue to go back to those establishments even when getting treatment like that. And no, that's not how you groom the people around. You leave your honest review, and you also don't spend your money there.
I just wanted the experience to always be just top notch for my customers, because that keeps them coming back. And I know what customer service is. And for you to think that you can not not even say thank you. If people came in for a cup of coffee, you still get the thank you. I still give you conversation. So
Even if it's just for that one little thing, because they spent their money with you, they trusted
Yeah.
you in something that's going into their body. So yes,
yes,
if you are not a people person, if you cannot, even in the midst of being tired and things going on, once you step into your role at whatever job that is, whether that means your CEO, the top notch, or you're somebody that's at the lower totem pole, you still show up and give your best. And if
Yeah.
that you know what you're called to do, then you don't need to be in those types of jobs. And that's also something we have to pay attention to too.
yeah,
Who
yeah.
we're taking
Absolutely.
in to the
Yeah.
letting work with things that require face-to-face interaction,
Yeah.
because that can be. I used to manage while I was in college. I used to manage an express factory outlet when I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina, and that was something that I was very big on: customer service. If you cannot show up as your best, you are giving your nastiness directly to the person that came in here just for help or
Yeah.
just because they
Yeah.
needed something. Don't show up like that. So,
How long were you in North Carolina? My in-laws are out there.
what part?
Ooh, they're about 30 minutes from Charlotte. They're in Gastonia.
Okay,
Gastonia.
so I was there
Really?
from about 2014 to 2017. My
Okay.
dad is still there. Some of my siblings are still there. My stepmom is still there. So I go there occasionally, but I'm a city girl through and through.
Yeah, Charlotte is, especially where they live. That was slow. One of
I'm
the
a
last times we were there, we stayed in
city girl.
we stayed in Charlotte. We stayed in Charlotte. Much better than Gastonia. Good Lord.
Yes, it's more city based and city oriented. I'm still trying to, now that I'm back in New York. I don't really care for the cold weather and the cold climate.
Okay.
So a couple of my cousins, they teach and they are restaurant owners in the Bahamas. So that is something that I do want to explore, even if that means for a short period of time. If that transitions to something long term, so be it. I think it's time for me to be 100% a tropical girl. I can't see the
Nice. Let's talk a little bit more about the pod. How do you manage working your full-time job and having that podcast?
So the podcast, I like to use my off days from working at the Victoria for my entrepreneurial days. So anything that is attached to my own coin and my own passion and my own vision, I use my off days for, because really and truly, I'm working for somebody else on these other days. When am I going to work for me? So we prioritize making sure that all of our administrative tasks and reportings and things like that, we have a reporting day, which is usually like
Where do you record?
right here in my house. We set it up. We ordered a sign. We had like a perfect little quaint like corner that I was willing to turn into a part-time studio, just because you have to be your MVP, your most valuable player when it comes to things that you're passionate about. So you know how many people set up a camera in a corner in their house and are viral and are making money just because they made the space to do it. So we do it right here at my house, and it's like I said, it's with one of my closest friends, so it's nothing. We hang out anyway. She's always here anyway, so we just decided to take it a step further.
Okay.
But we designate our Sundays and Mondays. That's what we had for season 1. We ended season 1. We have a little bit of a hiccup that we had to work through, but we should have that season 1 finale video and episode ready to roll very soon. Okay. But yeah, just prioritizing our time, making a calendar of what we expect to drop that week. We have Patreon, we have Instagram, we have YouTube, we have TikTok. So Patreon, we have some early releases that are available if you opt into the tiers that we have released so far. We have our YouTube drops on Thursdays at 7 p.m. That's when the episode visually drops. And then we drop on Wednesdays audio on all audio listening platforms.
Okay.
Those are our 2 days that things drop consistently. But right now we're transitioning into season 2. So we're prepping for season 2. We're prepping for giving our Locked In family some more of us. We're prepping some events. We want to build more than just a podcast. We want to build a community,
Okay.
giving tangible resources along with the tools and the conversations that we present. So that's a little bit.
Okay, so I guess that we had a great conversation.
We
The
did.
that
This
you
is,
would, yeah, this was really, really good. But I'm
yes.
serious about you staying connected and calling me so we can, so we
I'm,
can see what you're working on and try to get a plan together so we can make that happen for you.
yes, I'm as serious as when we get off of this video. I'll
Okay.
do a text. Okay. I love
Okay.
the voice note. So if I ever send you a voice note, don't feel pressured to respond immediately. It's just sometimes easier to communicate all the thoughts in a voice note.
Yeah. Okay.
So yes, I would definitely be. I'm so serious. It's just time. It's time. And I don't, so many people look at how we suffered through the pandemic because people didn't know how to make money on their own or they were dependent on a job that had to let them go. I never want my bottom line to be totally in the palm of somebody else's. I always want to have my own. So I'm so serious. So yeah.
I think that separates ordinary people from extraordinary people because everybody doesn't have that sense of wanting to be an entrepreneur. But if you're willing to do that take that extra step, like I said, I was working full time and still coming to open my shop. Everybody's not going to want to do that. People are going to, oh, I need some sleep, or I need to do this, and so.
Well, that may be true for you. True. That's so same. That's why people. They don't quite understand how are you doing this and how do you do that. That's just me. That's what floats my boat. That's how I can do it.
I'm not content with just somebody. And like I said, I don't want to go work in somebody else's store. I knew I never wanted to go work for somebody else. So any parting words, any thoughts, any kind of insights you want to share with the people, like going to culinary school, what the do's, the don'ts, would you recommend it? Yay, nay?
Okay, so on the real end of it, to sum this up, if you have a passion for culinary and you don't necessarily have the disciplinary tools that come with being an entrepreneur, yes, go to culinary school. So you can be groomed in that structure. But if you are a person who has a vision, often sets goals for themselves and can see them through, and the culinary field is calling you, you do not have to formally go to culinary school. I would say to network and to find your way into spaces with people who have achieved what you want to achieve, or even a portion of that, because we all have our own avenues. So just really sit back and assess what it is that you want, because depending on what your strengths are would be what I recommend. So like I said, if you have that discipline in place already and you know how to stick to a game plan, figure out what that game plan is and let's do it. Or if you know you need that little extra push, then yes, do the formality of culinary school so you can walk out of there a little bit more polished and refined and equipped. So it just depends on what you want. And I would encourage anybody who was like me and thought that culinary school had to wait until I was in my 50s and when I was settled and everything made sense. Do it now. Don't wait. It went one, tomorrow is not promised. That's one. And two, who's to say that decision isn't going to change your life or kick it into gear exactly the way it's supposed to be? So don't be afraid. Always picture the best possible outcomes, because what you think, so a man thinketh, so is he. So remember, we're going to think the best possible thing so that can come to fruition. Those will be my takeaways. And I just want to say thank you, Chef Sahira, for being who you are and inviting me onto the podcast, because it's been, and I say, like I said, this is the start of a great birthday week. We're stepping into 30, and I'm glad. Yes, I'm turning 30. I am turning 30.
Okay. What you got planned?
So I love spending my birthdays has changed over the years. So I would love to be in a spa. I would love to be on a massage table getting a facial. So this birthday, I am not planning. I don't have the control of what's happening on the day of my birthday. I am being surprised. Okay. So I'm thankful for that. But following the rest of the week, my siblings are coming into town, so we're gonna have some sibling time.
Nice.
I'm gonna hit the museum. I love to look at the galleries, take some pictures, be in the presence of art. I'm gonna do a bit of a game night with some family and friends, and then I'm gonna get to a service on Sunday. I invited all of my loved ones to spend my birthday with me the way I want to spend it instead of trying to conform to what everybody else did for their birthdays. So that's how I'll be spending my week. And it's just going to be a week of relaxation and me time. And I can't.
I want to thank you, Chef Minajahrae. And what else do I want to say? I'm excited. Don't hold me to when I'm going to get this out. But I got a new program.
Whenever it's out, I will prosper. I'm gonna have to big it up on social media. So
yes. Okay.
We can collab post it. I'm ready for the marketing. I love the text space is something I'm still learning, but I have a natural love and gift for graphic design too. And I spent my quarantine becoming a social media manager, so I have that background too. So I got to spend my time and invest in things that I love. So we will be connected more than one level.
Yes. Okay, good. This was such a good conversation.
Yes, it was.
I plan on coming back to Victoria because those potatoes was delicious. And I was really impressed with that chicken sausage. I'm gonna need to, and I would love to. Maybe that's something we could do. Maybe even host like a cooking show or something that can showcase your plant.
Come on now. I would love to.
Yeah, because I think that's you have such an advantage knowing that plant-based food. So that alone, I'm telling you, that's going to be huge for you. But and having that with everything else, and just having to work under Chef Boots is like amazing. Like it doesn't get any better than that. I didn't have anybody I could go to, so that's really good.
I didn't even realize how much of a giant in the industry that he was.
I know.
Until he started putting, I'm like, Chef, what? Even this last week, I did an event with him for Hennessy. It was like, Chef, are you serious? Just to know like brands that we use in our everyday life. Nice. I'm like, this is on my client list now. So God did what he was supposed to do, and that I trusted the process. So yes.
And you know what too? That's a beautiful thing. When I was doing my research on him, and even though we had Harlem Biscuit Company on the list for a minute, and my husband was just like, let's go, let's get up. I was like, all right, let's go. And once he agreed to the podcast, also, I was like, let me do some research on him. Just like really, really impressive. But also the takeaway is how nice he was. He's a really nice person because he did not have to. I was like, we came all the way from Staten Island. He was like, come on. And then I was like, what? We give us a tour? Like people don't do that. So I appreciate that. I really do.
I'm so glad that you all made that connection as well. So yes, cooking show. We have some things to talk about. It sounds like some teaching collaboration, some work preparation.
I'm telling you. My wheels are going to be spinning. I'm telling you. So,
I'm excited.
But I've kept you so long. So again, I want to thank you for being a guest on Need to Know Pod and telling everybody what they need to know about everything. So just tell people really quickly how they can follow you, get in contact with you.
Yeah, so you guys can follow me on Instagram. So my regular Instagram, I like to give because it connects you to all of my social media platforms. So you can find me at Minajay, Minajay 2_. And there you will have access to Woman on Wine, which is my woman empowerment brand. You'll have access to Remedies, which is a brand that I have with my best friend where we focus on holistic remedies and wellness. You'll be able to see my culinary page, which is The Ambidextrous Chef. If you want to just follow that page, it's at the.ambidextrous.chef. You can see all things there. You can follow Loc'd N Pod, and I plugged in there my lock page just so y'all can see my lock journey if y'all are curious as to what these babies look like once upon a time. So that is
how long you been growing them?
These will be 2 years old in June. So it hasn't been too long, but I started off with a bit of an advantage. I had a little bit of longer hair. So I didn't start from short hair. But for my birthday, I got a little lock ponytail. I'm getting my Chloe and Holly on. You know how they do their styles. So I'm going to get my little lock pony. So we're going to transform her in a little bit.
Okay.
So yes, thank you guys.
When I had locks, I definitely kept them styled. I had like one of the best stylists until she moved to Atlanta. So, but yeah. So we want to thank Chef Minajahrae for joining us on Need to Know Pod. And until next time, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.
You need to know what to do with that dough. Let the chef show you. You need to know what to do with that dough. Let the chef show you.